Bienvenidos a Discapacidad Televisión. Recuerda suscribirte para no perderte los últimos estrenos y programas en vivo. Danos un me gusta, y así nos ayudarás a conocerte mejor, y saber qué programación es tu favorita. Por favor, no te olvides de compartir, así, más personas podrán disfrutar de Discapacidad Televisión y toda su programación.
¡Hola, mundo!
Muchas gracias.
Esto es Dominicana.
Playas donde solo escuchas tu eco.
Mar.
Comida.
Mar.
Surf. Gente buena.
Ven conmigo. Ron.
Montañas que rompen el océano.
Los que vinimos por 10 días y ya llevamos 10 años.
Los que vinimos por hacer y nos esperamos por amor.
Mesas, bares
Hoteles.
y hostales.
En Dominicana, no importa por qué viniste.
Aquí lo único que importa es por qué te quedaste y si quieres volver.
Y que al recordarnos sonrías sin querer.
Dominicana es su gente.
Dominicana.
Dominicana te sonríe.
Is this still a thing?
Conectados al cuidar, porque nos mueve incluir. Te invitamos a conocer la línea 800-000-058. Conectados al cuidar. Una línea gratuita de apoyo con profesionales dispuestos a acompañar y acoger a personas con discapacidad y sus cuidadoras. Esta línea también está disponible para atender consultas sobre el Servicio Nacional de la Discapacidad y además orientar sobre los trámites y beneficios del Estado en materia de inclusión. Puedes comunicarte de lunes a viernes desde las 9 hasta las 18 horas. Las personas sordas pueden contactarse a través del sistema Visor Web, disponible en el sitio web de Cenadis, www.cenadis.gov.cl.
Las personas con discapacidad severa se enfrentan a diversas barreras al desplazarse en la ciudad y en el transporte público. Por ello, desde el Ministerio de Transportes y Comunicaciones queremos dar a conocer sus derechos y respetarlos. Las personas con discapacidad severa pueden obtener ante CONADIS el carné amarillo, que les otorga el beneficio del pase libre en el transporte público urbano e interurbano. ¿Qué quiere decir esto? Que pueden desplazarse gratuitamente en estos servicios. Desde el Ministerio de Transportes y Comunicaciones exhortamos a los transportistas a cumplir con la norma. El pase libre es un beneficio garantizado en la Ley 3412 para que los niños, adultos y ancianos con discapacidad severa puedan desplazarse gratuitamente en los servicios de transporte público urbano e interurbano. Los transportistas que incumplan la norma pueden recibir una sanción de hasta el 20% de una UIT y la inhabilitación vehicular para prestar el servicio de transporte público.
La Universidad Católica Boliviana San Pablo abre sus espacios educativos promoviendo medidas de acción positiva que favorece la inclusión en la educación superior de personas con necesidades educativas específicas, a través del área de inclusión, discapacidad y equidad, la cual facilita el tránsito adecuado en el acceso, permanencia y salida exitosa de sus estudiantes. Promueve la actualización en la formación docente sobre la temática. Desarrolla e implementa mecanismos y estrategias de apoyo equitativo en el aula. Aplica el modelo social de la discapacidad para transformar culturas y prácticas inclusivas. Todos los días en la Universidad Católica Boliviana trabajamos con entusiasmo, creando sinergias en la comunidad universitaria por la igualdad de oportunidades con responsabilidad y respeto, sobre todo personas.
Discapacidad Televisión.
¡Hola, mundo!
Primer canal de televisión dedicado al colectivo de personas con discapacidad desde 2006. A continuación, Footless EE.UU, más allá de una amputación. Presenta EE.UU BECKWITH. Características de este programa. Audio en inglés, subtítulos en castellano.
Well, hello there, my lovely, beautiful internet friends. Welcome back to my channel. Real quick before we get started, this video is actually restricted to only attractive, sexy people who are trying their best. So if you're seeing this, you made it in. Good job. Was that necessary? But I want the pillow on the couch. It has been a minute since I actually filmed a YouTube video because late January of 2024, I was preparing for a jiu-jitsu tournament, had a freak accident, had a vertebral artery dissection, doesn't that sound fancy, and I had a stroke to the back of my brain. Made a couple of videos about it if you're interested, but I wanted to share what life has looked like since that occurred because there have been some very unexpected changes. And I've hesitated to make this video because I don't want to be one of those people who is like, I had a near-death experience and now I have a rejuvenated sense of life. But oh God, I am one of those people. I think I'm going to title this video Having a Stroke Fixed My Brain and understand that that is a little bit of an exaggeration. But though I have holes in my brain and my body is not doing the best, something really shifted in me in a very beneficial way. I do want to clarify, I'm not sitting here like I'm glad this stroke happened. My personal theory of life is to not give power to things that don't deserve it. So often we hear people being like, I'm so glad X terrible thing occurred because it made me into the person I am today. My opinion on that, this might be semantics, is that we're not really giving ourselves enough credit when we say that. Bad things happen and then we get to make choices with what we want to do in the aftermath. And this situation certainly presented me with some opportunities to look at life differently, and I have, and it's been really cool. Do you have to chew on that right there? Guys, I'm sorry, this is the time I have to film a video today, so we're just gonna have to deal with the crunching. When I reference almost dying, I don't actually mean the day that I had the stroke or the week and a half in the ICU hospital after. I mean specifically a day in early May, when at about midnight, I started losing control of my body again in the same way that occurred when I had the stroke. Incredible dizziness, inability to use my hands, speech speech wasn't working, my tongue felt super weird, and it started happening really fast. And the injury that caused the kind of stroke that I had, I knew there is a risk of another stroke occurring, which is pretty terrifying to me. It very much felt exactly like it was happening again. I had enough presence of mind to call 911, and that was about it. By the time paramedics got here, I couldn't really speak. Getting to the hospital, I lost the ability to like move half of my body and a little bit more. Pretty much immediately after doing a CT, they put me on this crazy blood thinner that you can't sit up out of bed unsupervised because it makes your blood so thin. And so I was hospitalized. Turns out it was a hemiplegic migraine, which kind of masquerades as a stroke. Very lame of it, I might say. But there was one particular moment where I remember I was being wheeled into the CT scan, couldn't control my body, couldn't really form words, and I felt myself fading away. I very much had an extended moment of being completely alone in my own head and thinking, okay, this is it. I do think another stroke is happening. I was told if that occurred, I probably wouldn't make it. And even if I don't die, like, this is it. I'm just gonna see hospital rooms the rest of my life. And I'm curious if anybody else who has had, oh my God, I'm actually dying, like that kind of a moment, but it felt so very boring and quiet. I kind of always thought in my head there'd be like a life flashing before my eyes moment or like major regrets or realizations, and it was just sort of like quiet, boring acceptance and a lot of sadness for the people I would leave behind. Also, side note, I saw my dogs, like the ones who have passed away. I saw them like waiting for me. Our brains do crazy things, right? But I wasn't dying and I made it. And since that moment, there has been such a massive perspective shift in my life. The biggest thing that came out of that for me that has unfolded over the course of months is that I actually want to be alive. I think that sentence is a pretty common thing for most people to say. Survival instinct, it's pretty ingrained in us humans, but the age of 20 onward, I certainly was alive and lived life, but really didn't want to be a part of it. I spent every day, that's really not an exaggeration, for over a decade, mostly trying to distract myself from wanting to not be here anymore, wanting to distract myself from self-harmful thoughts or suicidal thoughts. And that was life to me. Life to me was like survival, was trying to like get past the darkness enough to function. And I had good days and bad days, good years, bad years. But in the extent of my adult experience, that has always been an underlying consistent for me. I'm not sure if it was like the almost dying thing or years of therapy that led up to it, or maybe all of the above. I'm talking about emotional things, Sophie. How dare you search for Leo's toy? She found it. Like pretty immediately, there was this shift in my brain that occurred. I think part of it was being like, oh, I am going to die, right? Like that is a guarantee. It didn't happen that day, but it will occur. And I don't know if I have 24 hours left or 24 years. None of us do, right? But it became tangible to me. Damn, there's a lot of freedom in that realization. Part of it was like, yeah, you'll get your wish eventually. Like in that dark frame of mind where I really don't want to be here. Like that's gonna occur anyways. But in the meantime, I get to do whatever I want with the time that I have. And the idea of like embracing joy when it's there and also embracing the really shitty things in life because they are a reality too, I've suddenly been able to do. I've gotten very involved in going to see live music. I've never been a music person. I'm not a musician. I like music, right? I made a short video about this, but a lot of the triggers for a lot of the stroke deficits are lights, sounds, flashing lights, people, loud environments, all of that. So I started going to concerts locally here in Denver. There's like concerts constantly. Many of them are super cheap, some of them are free. I did this as a way to kind of exposure therapy my brain to deal with the symptoms, to hopefully overload it enough that it would start creating new neural connections and heal, and it's actually worked. And I've had so many moments of like standing there in the crowd with new friends or old friends or just by myself and basking in how incredible it is to be alive. I wish I was better with words so I could accurately convey what a difference in perspective this has been for me. I don't even remember feeling like happy or joyful to be here when I was a kid. People will talk about like, think back to when you were little and the joy and like what you wanted to be, and I don't have those memories. I didn't have like a super dark, horrible childhood or anything like that, but there was always a heaviness that has followed me as long as I can remember, and that got worse as I experienced actual trauma and mental illness and things like that. And life has not gotten easier. In fact, it has gotten more challenging. But I am okay. And even when I am like desperately not okay, I'm still okay. So many of the mental restrictions that held me back from both enjoying pieces of life and fully embracing that moment, and also, maybe more importantly, in really feeling the depths of grief and anger and rage and sadness. I'm like, okay, bring it on. Not trying to hold everything at bay all of the time, not trying to like button myself up and hold myself together and do the right thing and follow all the shoulds in my brain. Like, they've just, to a large extent, dissolve. I feel so much more comfortable with myself. And I always used to have this line on repeat in my brain that went something like, none of this matters. None of this fucking matters. And I still have that same line on repeat in my brain, except the tone has changed. And now it's none of this matters. Like, none of this fucking matters. Incredible. That means I get to make it whatever I want it to be and love the people around me and build a life that I want to be a part of and not care that much about what other people might think or say, or what I might think or say. Like, to actually invest in myself. And I am fully aware of the fact that I am 9 months out for the stroke and like 6 months out from this realization, and I'm probably still riding a high of being able to do life. I'm not gonna lie, it is still incredibly difficult, especially trying to return to work. I feel very dumb a lot of the time because my brain does not work the way that it did before. It's like I'll know what I want to say, but I can't form words, or I get completely lost in conversation, or I'm conversing with very smart, intelligent, successful people, and I feel so behind. There have been a lot of tears and a lot of sobbing or yelling in my car. By the way, huge recommend. Scream it out in your car where no one can hear you. Chef's kiss. Great. It's also made me a lot less tolerant of things that I don't want to deal with, or treatment that I don't believe that I deserve. I now say that because I'm like, damn dude, we're all gonna disappear. We're all gonna fade into history and memory within a handful of a dozen years. So why would I stay in situations that I know are damaging or not good for me? I'm not interested in doing that anymore. I mean, this really just feels like a very self-indulgent video where I'm like, my perspective has changed. But specifically, if you have been a part of this community for any length of time, I was watching back old videos last night when I couldn't sleep that I had made years ago. And I can watch them and remember what I felt like in those moments, and the heaviness and the depression and the darkness and the hopelessness and the hope, right? And the I'm gonna keep going, the trying to be resilient, doing my best. And I now look back on those versions of myself with love and compassion instead of judgment. And it felt important to me to share this piece of my mental journey because there are those of you who have been so incredibly kind to care to listen over the years. And I have shared when I am desperately not okay. And I wanted to also share when I really am. Like I said, things are pretty challenging. A lot of things are in flux. I deal with a lot of physical stuff that is very difficult, and I am still trying to figure out how the hell to do that. Haven't figured it out, probably never will. We're all doing our best. The struggle bus, beep beep, is real, but so is like so much joy, love, and a lot of freedom. And with that, I'm about to leave you because I can feel my brain stuff starting to act up because now everything gets kind of wavy and I can't really see straight. And that's like a good indication that my words are gonna stop working pretty soon. So I'm gonna lay down. But I would like to make weekly videos until the end of the year, as my body allows. And I have some ideas, but if there's anything you guys would like to see or hear about in particular, let me know in the comments down below because gosh darn it, I'm very grateful to this community, to you guys. If there is anything you would like to see or hear me share, I would love to do that. You have done so much for me. Truly, the amount of support that I received from this community in this healing journey, could not have done it without you. And that fact is going to be very relevant to the rest of today's video. So something happened the other day when I went to the grocery store to get, you guessed it, groceries. It's not the first time that I've run into this kind of a situation since I became an amputee, but it definitely is kind of a stark reminder of the occasional reality. So we're going to talk a little bit today about terrifying children, very unintentionally, like as in my existence frightens children, and talk a little bit of the ins and outs of that and how that so heavily plays into why I do what I do here. But first, before we dive in, two quick things. Number one, you probably know what I'm gonna say. If you wouldn't mind hitting that subscribe button, that like button, maybe ringing that bell notification if you're feeling extra generous, I can tell you one thing, it would make Sophie really, really happy. Your decision. I mean, if you want to disappoint the puppy dog, go for it. And secondly, a quick word from our amazing sponsor. Sponsoring today's video, we have Surfshark VPN. You've heard me talk about these guys before, but it's a company I'm really excited to continue to partner with because they help you secure your online identity. identity. Unfortunately, in our day and age, identity theft is not a joke, Jim. It is an actual problem. And if online security just doesn't do it for you, using a VPN also allows you to access a lot more entertainment on streaming services like Netflix. With a VPN, you can change the country you are connecting from, and suddenly you will see pop up on Netflix a whole host of new things that were not available previously in your country. All you need to do is use this VPN to change where you are connecting from, and suddenly you will see what is available in Germany, or China, or Venezuela, or the US. And if you click the link right down there below, you will get 83% off a membership and up to 3 months free, which is a pretty darn fantastic deal. I highly recommend using a VPN. I personally do. Secure your online identity, and with that, let's dive back in. So there I stood just a few days ago in the coffee aisle of my local grocery store in shorts. Now that is an important part of the story solely for the reason that you can see my carbon fiber rocket foot. We call her Sunshine because I'm walking on sunshine. Whoa! And behind me I hear the approaching of little feet. And then I hear a kid screech and then exit the aisle very quickly. And I turned around and Brian was there with me and he was like, yeah, that kid just saw your leg, screamed, and ran away. And in the moment we kind of like laughed it off because really what else are you gonna do? But it doesn't feel great to be frightening to children, for like my existence to be frightening to children. Now this is not the first time this has happened, and I want to make it really clear that I am in no way talking trash about children because I think reactions like this make sense. A few of my good friends' kids have also been scared of me. Now none of them have like screamed and run away, but I've had it where they won't come close to me or they'll like hide behind their parents for a very long time just kind of peeking out and staring at me. I've had their parents tell me like, yes, they're a little bit scared because of your leg, you know, you look different, I'm sorry. And I'm like, it's okay, you know, it's cool. And I have found in every single one of these situations, by the time I've spent a few minutes there, by the time I've maybe chatted with the kid a little while or like sat down to play with them, pretty quickly it becomes no longer a thing. It's no longer an issue. They might start asking questions about my leg. I get to show them my cool carbon fiber rocket foot, and then we're good. And I think, at least I hope, that I've done a good job of managing these situations, of like trying to disarm things if people are scared, because I get like, it's weird, it's different, it's not what you see every day. And in those moments, I'm solid, I'm good, but like I said, the reality is that like, it's weird to know that my presence might frighten someone, might scare a little kid, might like give them bad dreams, frightens them enough that they will scream and run away in a grocery store. Like, I'm not a monster, I'm a person who happens to have a now detachable body part, and there are definitely days where that hurts a little bit, right? Where like the fact that I'm scaring people by existing on the planet can hurt, but at the end of the day, I'm fine, I understand it. I often get asked why I have this channel, why I make like the TikToks I make, why I talk so much about like amputation and disability in my leg, along with mental health and other subjects. And this is one of the biggest reasons. Being terrified or scared of what is different from you can be a pretty normal human thing. But especially talking about like kids and young people, a reality which I think is really uncomfortable to look at least for me, is the fact that things that are different than us, things that we are not familiar with, are generally inherently kind of scary. Like, we live in this world now that's very integrated in a lot of ways. We live in a world that promotes inclusion and, you know, different voices. We're not there yet at all, but at least we're getting closer, slowly but surely. But as much as we might like to live in a world where people are not seen as like the other and different if they are not us, we do still live in that world. Seeing people who physically appear different than the average human being walking around, someone like me who's missing a leg, or someone who has very visible scarring, or whatever it may be, the reality is that that is frightening and unnerving and uncomfortable to a lot of people. And for me, and the way that I have structured this channel and structured how I speak about things and how I do things, it all revolves around the fact that I truly believe if we can just have conversations as people and see each other as human beings above everything else, as cliche as that may seem, things get a lot better a lot faster. Having a space where you can ask questions that might be ignorant but not be judged for it, like have an answer to those questions that you've always wondered about people who are different than you in whatever capacity that may be, I think is so vital. Because without that, whatever topic it may be, let's say disability still has a bunch of question marks around it, and uncertainty, and looks different and is oh, I don't know about that, right? Like some of my friends' kids who have been scared of me get not scared of me very quickly once they're around me a little bit, once I get to talk to them, once they can ask questions about my leg or express that they're uncomfortable, but then not be met with like anger or judgment. Because for me anyways, it's like, it's a natural response when someone's afraid of me because I exist in the world. It's a natural response to be sad and kind of angry, like, God, just get it together, kid, right? And very clearly that comes from a place of a little bit of hurt and insecurity. But at the end of the day, I get it. I get why children are frightened of me. That doesn't mean that it doesn't feel kind of crappy, but I understand it, which is why I think it is so important that we have representation in the media, in the world, that we see and we hear from more people who are different than us, who are not us, who may not belong to the same group of people that we find ourselves in. Because I don't know about you, but I'd really love to live in a world where no one has to deal with feeling like they're a monster because they exist. And I would love to live in a world where children don't have to be frightened of things or people who are a little bit different than what they are. That is one of the biggest reasons why I will continue to wear shorts in public and have conversations with people and be open to questions that are asked respectfully in the vast majority of situations. And perhaps as more conversations and more interactions and more visibility happens, that fear and otherness will start to dissipate even a little bit more. And I would love to see that. I'd love to be a part of that. So yeah, the experience of a kid being terrified of me because I was standing in an aisle is definitely a weird one, but like I said, at the end of the day, I think it is understandable. But I really hope that through further education and conversations and visibility, perhaps that will happen less. And on the very far off chance that that kid ever watches this video, hey there, I'm Joe. I've got a carbon fiber rocket foot. It's like a robot. It's pretty cool. Also, it's not contagious, so you can come and ask me questions and this will not happen to you. I don't know about you, but I've really been enjoying the tier ranking videos that we've been doing. I've also been watching other people ranking things. I'm not entirely sure why I find it interesting to watch people rank things, but I do. So with that being said, we have another tier listing, tier ranking video coming today. This one specifically on chronic pain and chronic illness. The worst things that people say to those of us who are dealing with chronic pain or chronic illness. I have personally dealt with chronic neck pain and migraines for the past 15 plus years of my life, and I have had all of these things said to me at one time or another. As we dive in today, I would like to remind you that of course this is simply my opinion, my 2 cents. None of this is said in anger or animosity. I think people say a lot of things trying to help, and sometimes those things do not come across quite the right way, so I see these videos as a way to sort of spread a educational viewpoint perhaps. Take it if you'd like, leave it if you don't like it. With that being said, let's dive into some of these juicy sayings. Things like, you're too young to be sick. Have you tried just seeing a therapist? I know how you feel. And more of the top hits. Let us begin with one of my absolute favorites. But you don't look sick. I have never really looked sick. Now clearly you can tell I'm missing a leg now. That's not being sick, that's just a body part being chopped off. But the many years that I've been really sick or in a lot of pain, people have often said this to me because I don't present like a sick person. I look like your average human being. This one's gonna shoot almost to the top in our I'm just gonna go category. I realize that this is generally meant kind of as a compliment, like maybe you feel bad but at least you don't look like you feel bad, but the reality is that this kind of diminishes what someone is going through. The idea that you have to look a certain way to truly be suffering is something that's pretty hard to fight against, and making comments like, but you don't look sick, like you're looking good, you should be fine. It's really hard to hear that when you are really struggling, really suffering, really having a hard time. I know how you feel. We're gonna put that in I'd appreciate you maybe never saying that, because here's the thing, and believe me, I am guilty of this in many situations, but telling someone that you understand how they feel can often be like an attempt at connection and like being there and empathizing. However, if you have not dealt with constantly being in pain or constantly dealing with some kind of illness, it's a really hard thing to conceptualize. It's a very different animal than just getting sick. It's very different than breaking your arm and being in pain for a month or two. When someone is dealing with something chronic that's prolonged, there is a whole nother bag of things, both mental and physical, that they have to deal with. So if whatever pain or illness that's in the conversation has not actually been experienced suggested by you, I generally think it's a good rule of thumb not to suggest that you get it because it's very possible that you don't. You're looking a lot better. Here's the thing with this. This looks innocuous enough. On the surface, I fully realize that this looks and seems like a sweet thing to say, like, hey, you're looking good. You're looking good. Your cheeks are rosy. Like, I'm glad to see that you're looking good today. However, this is gonna go right into the why God category. The reason for that, I have had doctors and people who are close to me and friends and all variety of people tell me this on days when I am really, really not okay, when I am fighting to hold a conversation, to smile, to put words together, when all I want to do is take a lot of pain medications and sleep for days to hopefully wake up out of the pain that I am in. And when someone, when I'm in that state, is like, hey, you're looking a lot better, you know, good for you, it's really disheartening. It also in a weird way feels bad to disappoint them and be like, no, actually it's a really bad day. So generally I would just like nod, smile, like, hey, thanks, I appreciate the sentiment. But internally, this has kind of always been a hard one for me to deal with. Get better soon. I know a lot of other chronic pain and chronic illness patients who would rate this way higher. I'm gonna put this into, I can tell you're trying. A lot of people don't truly understand chronic illness or chronic pain. You know, why would they if they haven't experienced it? And telling someone to get better soon is a really common thing in our society. If someone's sick, I hope you get better soon. There's a whole section of get better soon cards at Walmart. This is a normal sentiment to express. However, when something is chronic, there's a really good chance that it's not gonna go away, that it's not gonna get better, and suggesting that like get better soon can kind of feel like a gut punch when you know it's not going to. Nothing against someone saying this, I realize it's well-intentioned, but oftentimes it can kind of hurt. It could be a lot worse. Listen, I realize you guys are probably tired of seeing this in my tier listings, but I'm not gonna let it go. This is also gonna go straight to why God. I really don't like the comparative suffering thing that so many people do, that many of us do, suggesting that because someone else has it worse, you should be having a better time dealing with your situation, or you should be more grateful, or it shouldn't be as hard because other people are having a harder time. The reality is that the suffering of other people does not diminish the difficulty of what you are experiencing. Is it good to generally keep perspective? Absolutely, but I can pretty much guarantee you that nobody who is dealing with chronic pain or chronic illness needs to hear it could be worse. It's probably fill in the blank. I'm gonna put this in, I can tell you're trying. I've had a lot of people diagnose me, whether it be at like a work party or a business function or a friend of a friend who happens to hear symptoms that I've been dealing with and is like, here, I know what you have because a friend had this thing that kind of sounds like it, and so that's what it is. You're welcome, you're cured. When people say this, again, I realize that the intention is good behind it, I really do. But the idea that you know more than all of the doctors we are most likely seeing it's very small. There's a chance, there's definitely a chance, but it's really tiny. And also what you're suggesting we probably have already looked into. Have you ever tried, fill in the blank, the cabbage diet, essential oils, meditation, yoga? The list goes on and on and on. That goes in our, I'd appreciate it if you never said that kind of category. About 90% of the time, I think this is someone legitimately trying to help because they see that you're hurting or you're suffering or having a hard time. They're like, what about this thing that I heard about, right? Like maybe that could help you. It's an honest attempt most of the time to aid or help someone. However, at a certain point, generally that point comes if you've dealt with something chronic for more than a year or two, you've looked into the vast majority of things, and people's continual suggestions of look into this, try this, when you've either tried those things or you know they are not gonna work for you, or you're exhausted at trying all those things, it can be kind of hard to hear. For me personally, I got to the point where if someone suggested something for me to try, I would sincerely thank them. You know, I appreciate you wanting to offer help. Let them know it's something I've tried or I haven't tried, but that suggestions are just a little bit overwhelming right now, and so I appreciate it, but you know, let's not continue that part of the conversation kind of thing. But you're too young to be sick. Very similar to the you don't look sick. I've honestly gotten this one a lot as well, because again, I'm under 30, I'm 29, I'm almost 30. It's still technically under 30. But I started dealing with the problems that I have faced when I was 13, so I was like a kid when a lot of the chronic pain started. So if people heard about it or I mentioned it and their reaction was, you're too young to be sick, it was really frustrating because I'm like, I know in theory I should be too young to be sick or hurting, and yet I am only 15 or 17 or 22 and this is happening to me, it is real. I wish I lived in the reality where I was too young for these things to happen. However, that's not the world that I live in, and it can be kind of painful when people suggest that you're not or you shouldn't be experiencing what you're experiencing because because of your age, because the reality is that chronic pain and chronic illness affect a lot of different people across the age spectrum. Aren't you worried about taking meds long term? I'm gonna put that in I can tell you're trying. People will bring this up as a legitimate concern, and they brought it up to me as a legitimate concern a wide variety of times. I was on heavy medications for many years. The reality is that if you are someone who needs medication to function or to manage your symptoms, in most cases there are side effects, there are long-term effects that do need to be considered. However, if someone is on some kind of medication, first of all, unless they've invited you into that conversation, that's not really your place to comment on. But secondly, if someone is taking a medication that has side effects and risks, chances are it's because they really need it, and being reminded of the fact that they are sacrificing potentially something in the future down the road so that they can function today is really not helpful, and again is something that can be pretty hurtful too. But you're still able to work, so I'm just gonna go. That's the category we're gonna place this one in. Oftentimes people who are dealing with chronic pain and chronic illnesses do have to work still, whether it's part-time, whether it's on a modified schedule, whether it's neither one of those things, then they have to push through, and it's really difficult. Work has been something I have been ridiculously grateful to have, but it's also been one of the largest struggles with my physical health, because when what you need to do is rest, when what you need to do is lay down, when what you need to do is have the time to go to doctor's appointments, to go to treatments, to all of that, and you can't do that because of your job, because you have to make money to pay for all of the doctor's visits and treatments, it is this really, really difficult spiral. And the reality is that not everybody dealing with something like this can not work, even if that's what would be best for their bodies, for their minds, for their health. But have you tried seeing a therapist? Now, I want to put a quick caveat on this before I actually rank it anywhere. I am a huge advocate for therapy. Therapy has helped me in so many ways with so many different things. I believe it is a massively beneficial thing to a lot of people. I'm grateful to have had access to it at many points in my life. However, when you are dealing with physical issues, health issues, and someone's suggestion is, have you tried talking to a counselor? Generally speaking, this is coming from a place of not truly believing that what you're dealing with is real. I'm gonna pop this one up into I'd appreciate you never saying that. Again, most of the time when someone is suggesting this, at least to me, let me know your experience if it's different in the comments down below, it's expressed in a way to suggest that whatever you are experiencing is all in your head, as in it's not really real, it's not really a medical problem. You should just talk to someone about that for your, mental issues. Unfortunately, that has been suggested to me a number of times, and it's been one of the hardest things to fight against, because when you are dealing with chronic pain or chronic illness, especially if you're trying to find the reason for it or a solution for it, it's easy to feel like you're crazy because you are the only person experiencing this, and if you do not have a diagnosis that's easily shown on some kind of physical test, I have found myself in so many moments wondering if I was just going nuts, like if I was just insane, because I didn't have answers for the reasons that I felt so terrible and had a difficult time functioning in the world and working and getting out of bed and all of that. Can therapy help with chronic pain and chronic illness? Absolutely. It has personally impacted me with both of those things in a very, very positive way. However, if it's being suggested with a tone of perhaps this is all in your crazy brain and isn't actually real, that is so detrimental and so harmful to hear. We're also gonna save the best for last on this one, but you should get tested for insert obvious thing. For instance, oftentimes people would suggest that I ask my doctor to get tested for like iron levels or something like that. Things that average people have heard about and like, hey, maybe you should try getting tested for that. Again, this is well-meaning, so I'm gonna put this in, I really can tell that you're trying. However, with that being said, again, if someone is dealing with something that is chronic, chances are, though not always, their doctor has run basic tests, the basic tests that you are aware of. Sometimes I've run into this like insinuation that like, I've got it, you need to get tested for iron because your iron's low and that's the reason you're feeling all of this stuff. You're welcome, I solved it, right? Like there's this attitude of almost arrogance with like, this is the thing that you're dealing with, just go get tested for it. That's probably it. When someone is not a medical professional and does not know your full medical history or the extent of what you're dealing with, it's just not my favorite thing to hear. That's all, it's just not my favorite. And our grand finale, are you better yet? Yes, indeed, this is going straight to the top. It is our grand winner. The vast majority of the time, if someone is consistently dealing with some kind of chronic problem, the reality is that many chronic problems do not go away. There may not be a way to get better. It may just be something that needs to be dealt with. There are tools for managing symptoms or tools for coping with it, but there isn't really a better. I'll be honest, this one just kind of straight up sucks to hear when you know that the problem that you are facing or the pain that you are in probably isn't going away. Like being reminded of the fact that
it's not, and having to tell someone, no, I'm still not better, I'm still hurting, or I'm still sick, or I'm still dealing with this. It's just kind of a stark reminder of the circumstances that you are in. Some days that's really hard to hear. I realize yet again I have put nothing in the green category at the bottom of just like, hey, thanks. There are a lot of positive things you can say to people who are dealing with chronic pain or chronic illness. I think for me the biggest thing is, wow, I'm really sorry you're dealing with that. That must be really difficult. Just any kind of expression of compassion or sympathy is really easy to do and really helpful. So many of these statements that we've just gone through deal with trying to make something better or fix it, when again, you probably can't. So just letting someone know that like you recognize that that's probably hard, being there for them in whatever way that looks like can be really, really helpful. For those of us who do deal with chronic pain and chronic illness, what are some of your favorite and or least favorite things to hear from people? Let me know in the comment section down below. I would love to hear from you. To my patrons over on Patreon, I owe you a debt of gratitude eternally. Thank you for supporting this channel. Thank you for your lovely words and the community we have there. If you're interested in what Patreon is, check out the link on screen or down below. And most importantly to you watching this video right now, thank you for spending a few minutes out of your day here with me today. You could be anywhere in the world doing anything, and you chose to hang out with me for a few minutes and rank things that people say to people who are dealing with chronic illnesses, so I really appreciate you. I love you guys, I'm thinking about you, and I will see you in the next video. Bye guys.
Haven't heard from the sky all about it. Down the river, high tide flows around it. Through the whispers of pines, I hear them say, the more you love, the more you live.
Discapacidad Televisión.
¡Hola mundo!
Primer canal de televisión dedicado al colectivo de personas con discapacidad desde 2006. Hola, bienvenidos a Discapacidad Televisión. Recuerda suscribirte para no perderte los últimos estrenos y programas en vivo. Danos un me gusta, y así nos ayudarás a conocerte mejor. Por favor, no te olvides de compartir. Así, más personas podrán disfrutar de Discapacidad Televisión y toda su programación. Muchas gracias.
En América Latina y el Caribe hay 70 millones de personas con discapacidad. La falta de infraestructura accesible es una de las barreras que enfrentan. Desde el BID promovemos la inclusión laboral de personas con discapacidad, el fortalecimiento institucional en temas relacionados y el desarrollo de estándares de accesibilidad universal en la infraestructura. Un ejemplo es el Programa de Sustentabilidad y Eficiencia del Sector Eléctrico en República Dominicana, donde se desarrolló una política de inclusión laboral. También se construirán baños accesibles gracias al Programa de Gestión Integral de Residuos Sólidos Urbanos en Argentina. Y en Brasil se han capacitado a conductores de autobuses para atender a sus usuarios, garantizando la accesibilidad a las estaciones y al espacio público. Además, hemos desarrollado una guía de servicio inclusivo para personas con discapacidad y otras publicaciones en transporte, agua y energía. Estamos haciendo camino hacia una región más inclusiva.
La Universidad Católica Boliviana San Pablo abre sus espacios educativos promoviendo medidas de acción positiva que favorece la inclusión en la educación superior de personas con necesidades educativas específicas, a través del área de inclusión, discapacidad y equidad, la cual facilita el tránsito adecuado en el acceso, permanencia y salida exitosa de sus estudiantes. Promueve la actualización en la formación docente sobre la temática. Desarrolla e implementa mecanismos y estrategias de apoyo equitativo en el aula. Aplica el modelo social de la discapacidad para transformar culturas y prácticas inclusivas. Todos los días en la Universidad Católica Boliviana trabajamos con entusiasmo, creando sinergias en la comunidad universitaria por la igualdad de oportunidades con responsabilidad y respeto, sobre todo personas.
Is this still a thing?
Esto es Dominicana.
Playas donde solo escuchas tu eco. Mar.
Comida.
Mar.
Surf. Gente buena.
Ron.
Montañas que rompen el océano.
Los que vinimos por 10 días y ya llevamos 10 años.
Los que vinimos por hacer y nos quedamos por amor.
Mesas, bares,
Hoteles.
y hostales.
En Dominicana no importa por qué viniste.
Aquí lo único que importa es por qué te quedaste y si quieres volver.
Y que al recordarlo sonrías sin querer.
Dominicana es su gente.
Dominicana.
Dominicana.
Dominicana te sonríe.
Discapacidad Televisión.
¡Hola, mundo!
Primer canal de televisión dedicado al colectivo de personas con discapacidad desde 2006. Hoy, bienvenidos a Discapacidad Televisión. Recuerda suscribirte para no perderte los últimos estrenos y programas en vivo. Danos un me gusta y así nos ayudarás a conocerte mejor. Por favor, no te olvides de compartir, así, más personas podrán disfrutar de Discapacidad Televisión y toda su programación. Muchas gracias.